It's that time again. I know you guys have all missed me. I know you guys have all missed your little alone time with the Benoy, where it's just me and you, no stream. It's just personal. And let me tell you, before I get into it, oh my god, I've been having so much struggles lately with like just my stuff. So I got a new key. Okay, so there was Prime Day a day ago. There was Prime Day. And so I got a new keyboard. And I got like a laptop, and I basically got a bunch of stuff, and the keyboard stopped working when I tried putting on my hand tracking, so I can be able to be expressionful with my everything. And then just everything wasn't working, and so this video's out later than I wanted it to be. I'm here to give you your daily dose of Shiritonin, and I do not want you to be late. I don't want myself to be late. I want you to be able to get your lethal dose of Shiritonin every single time, every day, at around the same time. And I'm late, and I apologize for that, but I blame my keyboard for not working, and it was upsetting me, so I wanted to fix it. And then there was a lot of other conversations. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about lore. You love lore, don't you? Don't you love lore? I talk about it so much. You better love lore. You better know I have lore. There's a video. It's 50 minutes long of just me talking about lore, along with a 2-hour-long Q&A of lore. Well, today I'm here to talk to you about lore once again. However, it's not going to be about my lore. It kind of is going to be about my lore, but it's going to be about your lore and how you can make an entire world, characters, your own unique designs, and what calls to you. I'm here to tell you my thought process on how I made my world, my design, my stories, the process that I go through, and maybe you can learn to love to create your own world, or maybe you just don't even know where to start, and I'm here to help you with that. Because sometimes you have a bunch of ideas and you just don't have either the motivation to get started, or you just don't know how or where to get started. And I'm here to help you with a bunch of different things. We'll go let's say let's split this into two different parts of designing. We'll go with world, and we'll go with character. Character, I feel like, is the thing that most people like the most. You like making your own little character. You want them to be unique. You want them to be well designed. You want them to have their own little quirks, their own little stories, their own little lore. Or maybe you just want a pretty anime boy, pretty anime girl that you can look at and be like, that's me. That's me. I like that one. That one's me. Wow. So I'm here to just basically help you get started for that. You don't need any artistic talent. All you need is a noggin. Sometimes you don't even need a noggin. So how I make my characters most of the time is they start off with an inspiration. So this could be anything to do with for example, if you have an anime character that you really like, and you think they are the hottest anime character ever, you could start off with that being your inspiration. You want to be like this character. You want to be this character. So then you figure out this inspiration. How do I make this my own thing? Almost all of my characters, even the characters that don't have inspirations, were inspired by something. For example, hi, I'm Shiri. Shiri, the original basis of Shiri, the original inspiration of me, is Tet. Tet from No Game No Life. Let me see if I could find you a picture really quick of Tet from No Game No Life. Give me a second. Okay, so here is Tet. This is Tet. You see this little lad here. Can you see the inspiration? Can you see the inspiration? I turned Tet into myself, my own original design. You can see the elements where it's wow, okay, I kind of see what you mean. I got the unusual pupils. You got the little, he has a heart, I have a carrot. The own unique stuff, of course, is my outfit. And having this I'm having a seizure, sorry, aneurysm. The flower in my hair, and being a bunny and stuff like that. I also don't have any earrings because that would probably hurt, because bunny ears are sensitive. but he has his own unique little pupils and stuff like that. That's something I really loved about their design. And also the hair is very similar as well, with like the little frosted tips and stuff like that, and a little bit of it's not just a single colored hair. And yeah, so this is where my original design for Shiri came from. For Chompers specifically, so basically when you get inspiration from someone, you basically then turn that into your own thing, and you create your own little, the difference is what makes you different than your inspiration, and then you build from that and you create from that. And then after you make your character, which is inspired by something, most likely, most of the time someone is having some form of inspiration. When you're coming up for the lore of a character, coming up for basically, you know, the reasons for the why you have this design, it's like you don't want to come up for a design and then just be like, yep, that's why, and then have literally no reason for it. What you want to do personally, like this is what I do. Of course you can just be like, oh yeah, I have that on me because I think it looks nice. That's why. That's there's no reason other than it just looks nice. Like for example, my gloves are kind of like that. I have fingerless gloves because they look nice. There's no real lore or reason behind why I have fingerless gloves. But for the main elements of your designs, I feel personally you need to have a reason as to why, especially if it's something very unique, like the carrot. That's a birthmark. Everyone of the Bun family has this carrot birthmark. So that's something that you can then lead into other characters. For example, Chompers. Let me get you Chompers real quick. Give me a sec. Okay. So here we have Chompers. I have Chompers here now. So you see the carrot on the cheek. So when you're making designs for other characters, especially if you want them to be siblings, you gotta have continuity. You see that band-aid there? That's to cover the carrot on the cheek. It's supposed to be the first hint that this is, you know, Shiri's brother, my brother. And then the also thing is like bunny ears. The scarf there is Yairi's bunny ears. It was supposed to be the other tell that this is sibling, you know, this is Bunny's sibling. It's supposed to be like, you know, you got the ears, you got the birthmark that's being hidden. You do cute little things like that where it's like they're meaningful and can build on each other in the future. So it's like it really solidifies the fact that this is a birthmark. So if you make other characters or you want to have big reveals, people can be like, oh my god, wait, that's right, that's the birthmark. Oh my god, they were siblings all along. You know, stuff like that. That's something that could be cool story building in the future. So you know, you could have like every, you know, character could have a birthmark, and then it's like, I think that's really cool, and it's like really cool reveals, and it's like you leave little hints, you leave little trails for people to figure out the story for themselves, so they feel like their own little map pat. And on the topic of Chompers, one thing that I wanted to talk about before I continue about the design things is Chompers is an example of an inspiration that didn't come from an inspiration. It was inspired by something, but it wasn't inspired by an anime character. Chompers here had no original inspiration of like any kind of anime characters, as much as he may look like Kaneki-kun, which I don't think he looks that much like Kaneki-kun. Basically, he entirely was based off of a written description of evil looking Shiri. He is supposed to be the inverse of Shiri, because the original design, the original concept of Yairi or Chompers was, what if Shiri had an evil twin? And I took that original concept and I shaped and molded what would become Brother Bun. And then it ended up being Shiri is more so supposed to be the, you know, they look cute to wholesome and innocent, but in actuality they're the actual terrifying ones. They're the ones that are scary. But then this one is supposed to be, they look scary, they look dangerous, they look evil, but they're actually really sweet on the inside. So it's supposed to be an inverse of like, one looks innocent but is scary versus one that is scary or looks scary but is innocent. And that's something that you can kind of like work off of when you're making multiple different characters, is like, how do they contrast with each other? What is like, you know, you could have cool symbolisms like that. Or, you know, I like things being not what meets the eye. I like things kind of being like a moral gray. And you gotta really think of like, you know, for example, is Shiri really evil? I keep people locked up, but I only keep bad people locked up. Is it morally right for me to turn people into fluffles? But when people get turned into fluffles, they're the happiest they could ever be. You know, there's so many morally gray where it's like Shiri can easily be seen as an antagonist, but you could also see him as a protagonist or an anti-hero, or like you can stretch it and see, you know, it's not completely black and white. It's not like Shiri is a good guy. Shiri is the protagonist. He is very good. There's like, there can be points where you're like, yeah, but like Shiri has people locked up in his basement. Underfloor, sorry. Yeah, let me get chompers off the screen. So that's something that I personally like. I like playing with the morally gray, so it's not just black and white. Of course, you can always have those black and white characters where it's like, yeah, this is obviously the good guy. But we're getting a little off topic. What I really want to talk about is when it comes to making a character design, especially when it comes to the facial stuff, is ask yourself why. Why do I have a carrot on my cheek? Why are my eyes unusual? Why do I have a flower on my head? Why am I dressed like this? Like, you should have reasons for pretty much everything. For example, why do I have bunny ears? I'm a bunny boy. Why do I have a carrot on my cheek? It's a birthmark. Why do I have unusual pupils in my eyes? It's because I tested on myself when I was a young bun. Why do I have a flower in my hair? And why does it constantly dribble flowers? That was also a result of doing alchemy on myself when I was younger, testing on myself. And then it's, you know, that can lead into, okay, so the bunny does alchemy. What are some of the things about alchemy that they do? And then that could lead into certain potions, and then you end up leading into the Fluffle potion. And the Fluffle potion, oh, so the Fluffle potion, why do you need to do a Fluffle potion? How do you get people to drink the Fluffle potion? Well, it turns out it's because people come into this place that they're not supposed to see. Oh, what happens if you don't turn them into a Fluffle? Oh, well, that includes the chambers, and then things lead into other things. Questions create more questions, which with every single question that you ask yourself and ask your character, and it's really good to have other people's opinions of, like, basically have other people ask you the questions, and you'll solidify your character, your design, your story, your world, the more questions you can answer. Even if it's like answering questions you've never even thought of before, that's still solidifying your design, your character, your, you know, the reason, the lore. There might be things like that you would have just never thought to ask, and then you realize and you give an answer that makes sense, and you understand your design or your character more. Another thing is like my outfit. Why is my outfit like this? It's because I'm trying to be, it matches my personality as well as what I do. For example, there is the comfy sweater where it's supposed to be comfy cozy, and then the collared portion of it is supposed to be more so the business aspect of, I am a flower shop owner. I am the owner of a business. I can be very professional when I need to be. And then when you take off the comfy cozy sweater, that's when you have the more, this is like, why do you have this? This is because it is, you know, it's the sadistic portion of this. And why did your eyes change color? Why did your flower change? It's because my flower is connected to whatever outfit that I have. So for example, if I shed the comfy cozy like sweater, then the flower is going to change as well. I'm looking a little quirky, sorry, I'm tweaking. So those just things that you should ask yourself. Basically, ask yourself questions and don't just be like, I don't know. Come up for reasons, solidify yourself, and make sure that your questions and your answers don't clash with other things. Once you answer a question, unless you want to like retcon it later, make it so that is it. That's your reasoning. So you have to base your other answers off of this answer that you did. Like, for example, if I were to be like, my eyes were a product of testing on myself when I was younger. I can't then be like, my eyesight is, my bad eyesight is because I didn't I chose not to do alchemy when I was younger because my eyesight was very, very poor. So I was unable to test on myself when I was younger since I had such bad eyesight. Instead, be like the unusual pupils from testing on myself when I was younger are the reason why my eyesight is so bad. It's because, you know, the reason why people see so well is because their like pupils and their corneas are perfectly circular, which is how you get stigmatism. So because I tested on myself when I was a young bun, my eyesight is actually really bad. So you can have stuff like that where it, like, make it so it works off of your previous answers, not clashes with your previous answers. And the same thing goes with world building and storytelling and building your own world. Ask yourself questions. Build off of those questions. All of the answers that you get, like, don't turn away questions. Think about those questions and do your damnness to give an answer that you can give. Don't just ignore questions. No questions are stupid. Even the ones that seem stupid. They still, if you give an answer to those stupid questions, you now have a better understanding of your world and the world that you want to make. It's always good to have inspiration and kind of like envision what you want ahead of time, but those questions and the answers that you give to those questions are what's going to help build like the details. It'll unblur, like, you'll have your foundation of what you think or what you want or your idea. The inspiration most of the time is the foundation. So let's think of it as like a let's think of it like a cake. Sure, let's go for a cake. So right now you got the foundation. So you're baking the cake. This is the cake without the frosting. It's just the patty, the beef patty of the cake. That is your inspiration. Whether the inspiration come from an anime you've seen, a book that you've read, it is what paves the foundation of basically what you want to make. It can even be inspired by your mind. It's just, this is what you have, your first understanding of what you want your character to be or what you want your world to be. That is the foundation. It's from there that you ask questions or have others ask questions and come up for reasons. So think of this. Asking and answering questions are the sprinkles of the cake. It's you delicately making like the I heart Shrek, you know? That's you adding nice designs to the cake, sprinkles to the cake, and then giving reasons for your design or giving reasons for your lore and like just having reasons for the stuff and remembering those reasons is the frosting. That's like the questions are the details. They're making it fine-tuned. It is defining it's defining the cake, defining the features. It is giving you the Chad build. It's the defining details. The foundation, the inspiration, that's the base. That's what starts it. It wouldn't just be like, you don't just want a base, you want it to be able to have the nice sprinkles, the nice frosting on it. So that's what that is. The reasonings for it is like, it's the frosting. It's what you cover the base with. And then it's the fine details, which is, you know, answering the questions. That's like what really helps you. That's what really keeps it going. And it doesn't have to be yourself that asks the questions, especially if you're not like, sometimes people will ask questions you would have never, ever thought of. Like, I've been caught off guard by some like amazing questions where I had to think, like, I'd have to sit down and think. And sometimes people's ideas are like, yeah, that makes so much sense. That's a great idea. I think that's what I want to go for. So over the course of 2 years, my character, my Shiri, my world, everything has gotten more and more defined, more detailed. It's always been the base. I've always had the base, the foundation. The base, the inspiration from my looks was Tet. I was inspired by Tet. And what I wanted the foundation, the base to be, would be a bun that had a flower meadow and used those flowers to do alchemy. So I was always going to be a flower shop owner. I always wanted some form of like management position or like position of professionalism. And then I wanted to do alchemy. Those are the two things that was the foundation. I had my design, my looks, I had a foundation for that. And I had a foundation for the story. It's from that point on that I looked at my design and I started chiseling in the fine details, fine-tuning Shiri to make sense and to really start building the world. And the world at first just started off as the flower shop, and it went from the flower shop to there's the flower shop, and underneath there's the alchemy lab. And then there's a meadow to the side. There's a lake to the side. There's a flower maze as well. There's a forest way in the back. And most of the time, like what this kind of it was like almost defined by ASMRs that I did that were, you know, they helped build my lore, because in one of the my ASMRs, I always tried to keep continuity, and so I would build off of that. And I would basically be like, so there is a forest. I took the puppy out to a forest. And that's when I started getting there was yandere vibes and stuff like that. So the forest means that there is a forest here. There has to be a forest here. Where would the forest be in my setting, in the world? Where would the forest be? And so those defining details, keeping all the continuity and making sure that you didn't, you know, step on any continuity. Like, you don't want to open up a space-time continuum, like rift in space and time itself. So you got to make sure you know your layout. And then from there, it started getting defined. After the flower shop, if you were to go down a long path, you would have the town. There's a maid cafe, stuff like that. There's a little house where the listener can live in, and that's part of the modern continent. And then you start going into the dark forest. Past the dark forest, there's a magical continent. And then after that, after you basically, it just starts off and you build off of your foundation. So you have your foundation where it's like, for example, your lore could just start off as you are a dog and you live in a dog park. And from there, you really, like, for example, the most defined part of my world is where Shiri is, where Shiri's located. It's the flower shop. I mean, literally behind me, there's the background of the alchemy. Like, you're looking at the background of the alchemy shop, the alchemy portion of my shop. This is way more defined than any of the other places in the world. There's 7 countries. I think there's 10 continents total. There's 7 countries in the modern continent. There's 7 regions in the magical continent. Yet I don't have art for any of them. I only have the kind of big picture. I don't have the fine details for them yet. I have the fine details for stuff that is surrounding Shiri. And now that I've basically gone as far as I can with the fine details with Shiri and the stuff around Shiri, is when I slowly start detailing the world and the places in the world, and starting off with short stories and having them have their own stories and making a world feel lived in. So, for example, we're doing like a D&D campaign that's being worked on, and it's going to be of Shiri World and stuff like that. And I'm going to be having it's going to be, if you choose not to interact with something, that in itself, stuff is going to happen. If you choose not to interact in a region, they come to their own decisions and conclusions from as if you weren't there, because that's how the world works. If you may not know Isaac Newton, but he's gonna come up with an apple hitting him on the head whether or not you're there or not. But if you were there, you might have changed that, you know? So it depends on if you are there or not, but the world will go on whether or not you're there. It's just you being there may change what would have happened if you weren't there. So that's how I think of the world. I think of the world as it's more than just Shiri. It's more than just me. I may be a main component of the world, but the other people in the world might not know about me, and stuff will happen whether or not it's Shiri related. And that's how I kind of see, like, Stuff happened before Shiri existed. Stuff happened before I existed in the world. And like, you're gonna have to come up with it, especially if you're making an entire world yourself. You're gonna have to come up with what happened before your character existed. How was your world made? How was everything made? I literally have it like how the world was made, how the world was created. The first humans, the first creatures, the first kimono minis. Like, I have different names, I have different countries, I have different races. And like, I have, all of them are like originally named, all of them have meaning behind their names. Each place has their own different theme. They all have their different governmental systems. They all have their different rulers. All of the rulers have their own different personalities. All of the rulers have their different characteristics. And it's basically, if you're creating a world, the world shouldn't necessarily be focused around your own character or the main characters. You gotta realize that a world is going to be a world whether or not you're there. And that's like one of the main things about worlds. Like, you're going to have your most defined place of your world being based around your character or your main character, but you shouldn't forget that it's still a world. It still should be lived in. There should still be stuff happening, especially if you're planning on like making like a D&D campaign or something like that. Shit happens whether or not you're there or not. And if, you know, you may be able to prevent bad things from happening by being at the right place at the right time, or you might make things worse. That's all things that you need to consider and think about when you're making stuff, making world, making lore. So I'm gonna stop rambling. I care a lot about lore, and I think that everyone has amazing potential to write their own stories, make their own worlds, make their own unique things. And I feel like a lot of people are either too scared or too worried that you don't have the time. This took 2 years of just doing stuff over time. Like, it could be just 30 minutes of thinking, 15 minutes of thinking, 5 minutes of thinking, an hour of recording, 2 hours of recording, sitting down and writing an entire 15-page Google Doc of chapter 1 of just the lore, like the world itself. I've done that one. That one I've done. It doesn't have to be in big bulks. It doesn't have to be like, it's just, it happens over time. You just have to take your first step, and you have to just keep doing. As long as you take your first step, it can be slow build up, low build up, fast build up. You do it in bulks, you do it in like small sections. You know, you take it at your own pace. It's your own world, and make it something that you're happy with and that you're you know, something that you're proud of. That's how I feel. I feel like lore should just be something that makes you happy and you're proud of, and, you know, like, be, you know, you could still take your criticisms and stuff like that and still be like, you know, find questions that you never thought to even ask, or like, you know, people confronting you being like, this doesn't really make any sense. And then, you know, it's important to kind of listen to them too, and not just, you know, but I mean, also keep in mind, you set the world, like the rules to your own world. Like, your world doesn't have to follow the same logic that this world does. As long as your imagination can imagine it, and you have your own set rules for your own world, then go for it. You can make it so like fishes fly and pigeons swim, for all we care. You know, you could, you know, fish can drown, and you can, you know, walk your pet lizards across the streets. Or maybe it's the lizards that are walking the humans. You know, you choose what you want to do. It's your world. You have fun with it. I just wanted to give my own thoughts, ramble on a little bit about my own perspective and how I basically kind of made my lore. It was over the course of 2 years. It started off with a foundation. Here, I'll give you the simple rundown without any rambles or anything like that. I'll give you the simple rundowns of how I created my characters in my world. First, it just started with Shiri. It was just a character. It was just a foundation inspired by an anime character I really liked. It was from that anime character, along with a small little thing that I wanted them to be. So think of it as you're inspired by one character, and you have a sentence that you want that character to be like about. So mine was like, okay, so I was inspired by Tet, and the one sentence I wanted to go by was professional flower alchemist. So I wanted my character to be professional. I wanted them to have something to do with flowers, and I wanted them to be an alchemist. And then from there, you take that foundation and you take that base, that base of a sentence, you mix it together and you have the foundation for your cake that is your design. From there, you then can add the frosting, the sprinkles, define that cake. Decide whether or not you want this to be a bundt cake, a chocolate cake, an ice cream cake. You define it and you fine tune it. It could be a chocolate ice cream cake. It could be a hot fudge chocolate ice cream cake with sprinkles and bananas on top of it. It's from that point on, after you have your foundation and your base of what you want to start with, you come up with the details. There's two ways to come up with your details that I see. And there, of course, there could be more than two ways. Everyone has their own unique ways. I would say it comes from questions and answers as well as reasonings. For example, why, and you know, they could be the thing like your reasoning for, or my reasoning for the carrot on my cheek is because it was a birthmark. It is a birthmark. My reasoning for the reason why I have the unusual pupils is because I tested on myself in the alchemy, you know, when I was a young bun. And then I took that lesson and I learned that I shouldn't be testing on myself, which is why I test on other people. How did you get those people? Are you just locking up random people? No, those people only come into my, I only test on the people that are A, bad, and B, walked into places that they weren't supposed to be and they've seen too much. And so they kind of lead into each other, they build off of each other, and from there, asking questions and having answers and reasonings, that is what will define your character and define the world. Because then you'll start asking questions about the settings and you'll explore different settings. And then you'll eventually come up with your own rules, especially if you want to go further with your world. You can start making world rules, or how is your world made? Or what made your world? What are the rules of your world? Is there magic? Is there mana? Is there different systems for it? Is it like how you take that and you run with it and you define it, and that's how you make your world. It's basically ask a bunch of questions until you have answers for everything and boom, you're good. That's how it works. See you guys tomorrow. Yeah, that's about it. I rambled. I like lore a lot. If you guys can tell, I'm very passionate about my lore. I think you guys can all have great lore, amazing lore, and it's something that I care deeply about. I care a lot about my lore, and I'm always really excited and really happy to share my own lore and the cool and cute little decisions. And there's even some parts of the lore that I know myself, but I want everyone else to figure out, that I leave little clues to. And I'm kind of excited to start writing little short stories of all the different characters, like short stories of Shiri, short stories of Yuki, short stories of Chompers, short stories of other characters that you guys might not know. And just like kind of like those short little stories will help define the world and define more of the characters and have people get attachments to those characters and stuff like that. And that's how you make a world. That's how you make some lore. That's how you make characters, and that's how you work on the designs. That's where to start. That's how to end. And you know what? When it comes to characters, there never really is an end. When it comes to the world, there really is not any end. So you'll always have something to work on, unless you're completely finished with something. But while you may be finished with questions, others may not be. Look at FNAF. People still have questions about that, don't they? So yes, if you're not subscribed already, I would suggest subscribing. I haven't looked at the like demographic of like 45% of you aren't subscribed, so make sure to subscribe. I haven't checked that in a while, but the channel has been like popping off recently, which is like super exciting for me. It makes me really happy. The past few clips have been like pogging all over the place, which has been really pog, you know. And I hope that you guys enjoy the long form content just like you enjoy the short form content, because you know I like talking. Talking is nice, especially when it's something that I'm passionate about. You know, liking the video, that's cool too. I don't really know what it does. Commenting is super important, so let me, if you got this far into the video, I want you to comment something. I don't know what you if you don't know what to comment bunny. Bunny. But my question for you is, have you made any lore for yourself? Are you interested in making your own character? Do you have your own design? do you have any interest in this at all? I mean, if you got this far into the video, you probably do. But that's something that I'd like to like see in the comments, and just you talking about your own lore, your own world, your own thoughts, your own designs. That's something like I'm a lot less likely to interact with something that's just like, cute bunny, bunny cute. And I'm more like, I read the longer comments. The long comments are stuff that I like, those are the ones that like people really like put their whole, like Banusi into it. And that's like, that's what I want to see. And those are the ones that most of the time I like actually reply to and stuff like that. Is, I want to hear about your lore. I want to hear about your thoughts. I want to hear about your designs and stuff like that, So anyway, I've already talked for way too long. It's been 35 minutes. I apologize for taking up so much of your time, but hopefully you enjoyed it. And I will see you guys again on Sunday. Well, I'll also see you tomorrow, but that'll be a clip. But I'll see you guys on Sunday as well for more talking. Also, a great comment idea is if you guys have any like things that you want me to talk about, or any topics that you want me to talk about, I would be more than happy to, talk about whatever you guys want me to talk about. I'll probably have that as a pinned comment as well. Is there any topics you want me to talk about? It could be anything in general. Like it could even be like, like drama stuff like Sniper Wolf, whatever you guys want. But bye bye, and thank you so much for giving me your time and sitting down for this long ass, like almost 40-minute video. So thank you and goodbye. I'll see you, my precious fluffle. Mwah. I hope you enjoyed your daily dose of serotonin, and I'll be here again tomorrow to give you your daily dose of serotonin. See ya.